Let's take a look at Lab 3.1. We're going to use Flowcharts and Pseudocode to write our program. Again, this comes from the Python Pal chapter. You can download that PDF and it will detail everything. I've also included all this in the instructions. So I already have a folder on my desktop. I made another folder called Week 2 because we're starting to get a lot of code in there. I've opened Week 2 in VS Code and I've opened the file collegeadmission.py. So here we are ready to get started. So we're going to use the pseudocode. That's this part over here. This is the logic part that you've been reading about in the book. And you could apply this to any programming language that you wanted to work on. It's one of the really fun experiences, and something to try out is once you know how to write a specific program in one language, try to write it in another language that you're trying to learn. Once you know the logic, it just becomes syntax. So let's take a look. When completed, college admissions offices should be able to use the Python program to determine whether to accept or reject a student. Okay, so we're going to have to enter some information about the student. It looks like the test score and the class rank. So make a note, I have test underscore score and class underscore rank. I think we're going to need those in order to calculate. And I can see over on the code that test underscore score is already giving me a problem. So let's see, if I just try this out real quick, test score equals 90, and that should pass this part. And then I'll say class rank equals 25. All the errors went away. So let me just save and run this just to see. It should accept. And it says accept. Okay, so far so good. Now let's also test. So this worked. And then it should reject if the class rank is under 25. So let's put the class rank at 15. Save and run. And let's see what happens. It says reject. So it looks like the logic's pretty good here. So we could also check for 80 and 70. Let's just do a quick test. What if your test score was 65? Run it. It says reject. All right, that's good. So let's take a look at the program. So it looks like the examples have already given us all the code. You could take it upon yourself to write the code without starting from the college admission example, or you can just copy what I have here. So we've studied the code, we see what it does, and we have our file open. So now we need an interactive input statement to retrieve the student's test score. Well, we didn't make it interactive, we just typed it in here. So we're going to have to use an input command to get that. And we need to get the test score and the class rank. And then we're going to have to convert the string to an integer. And that's because we're comparing this to integers over here. Is the test score greater than or equal to 90? And you can't really do that accurately if you have a string. What if the test score was banana and you tried to compare? You're going to get an error. So let's go through. We're going to execute the program by entering 87 and 60, 60 and 87, and record the output. And this is important to follow these steps exactly because I'm going to want all the code and all of your results for this lab. So let's take a look. We're going to need the interactive input statement for test score and class rank and convert them from string to integer. So we might as well write this input as a string. So let's say test score string, that way you know what it is. And we'll say input is enter student's test score. We don't need to be tricky here. We'll just say exactly what it is. And then the test score is actually going to be the type conversion of the test score string. So as long as you enter the right data, this won't have an error. And then let's do the same thing for class rank. Class rank, I'll call it class rank string equals, and this is going to be an input. Remember, this is an interactive program. Enter the students class rank. It doesn't have to be fancy text or code or fun boxes or whatever. You can always do that later. And this is going to be class rank. Let me save it, make sure the errors go away. Class rank equals, that's got to be class rank string. All right, I don't see any squiggly underlines here in VS Code. So let's clear our input and see if it works. Enter student's test score. So the first score to enter is 87 with a class rank of 60. 87, 60, accept. Okay, let's run it again. Enter the test score. Now I want to have 60 and 87. 60 and 87, reject. Now you may also want to go through and try all the different edge cases to make sure this logic works. Generally, it's a good idea when you're building logic in to test each specific part of the application to make sure it does what you expect. Good luck.